Good evening, everyone. My name is Pramod Upreti, and today I'll be presenting on effective curriculum decision making in early childhood education. This presentation will explore how assessment and the teaching learning cycles influence children's learning outcomes with a reference to the early year learning framework version 2.0 as the Australian professional standard for graduate teachers. So to start my presentation, here is my list of contents. So here's a quick overview of today's presentation. We'll begin with an introduction to the topic and then define what effective curriculum decision making is. Next, we'll look at the different approaches to the assessment, followed by the stage of the teaching learning cycles. Then I will explain how the curriculum decision linked to EYLF version 2.0. We will also explore how graduate standard inform teachers' practices, and finally, we'll look at the assessment and the feedback help us adapt and improve the learning experience for the children. So, on my introduction slides, the key question for the presentation is what is effective curriculum decision making? So, according to the Australian Government Department of the Education 2022, effective curriculum decisions are those that are intentional, responsive, and grounded in evidence. The main purpose of the presentation is to show how assessment and the teaching learning cycle contribute to improve learning outcomes for children, helping educators creating meaningful and developmentally appropriate experience. On my next slides, understanding assessment and the approaches. There are the three understanding assessment approaches, which is AFL, which is also called as assessment for the learning, assessment as a learning as a AAL, assessment of the learning, which is AOL. So assessment of learning AFL is used by the educator to inform the teaching. It's based on the current observation of children's needs, interests, and the developmental levels. This allows us to adapt experience in the real time. So moving to the next assessment of the learning or AAL involves encouraging children to think about their own learning. It builds their self-awareness and support the developmental of agency and reflection even in young learners. So assessment of the learning AOL is used by monitor children's progress over time. It is often used to report on development and to support planning and communication with families. Together, these approaches support a holistic picture of the child. My next slide is the stage of the teaching learning cycle. The teaching learning cycle has a five stages: observe, analyze, plan, implement, and reflect. So at this stage, educators carefully watch children during play and routine. We look for cues in their interest, social interaction, and the language. Analyze. Next, we interpret what we observe. We identify learning patterns and needs and connect this to EYFL outcomes and developmental milestone. Plan. Educators then design meaningful play-based learning experience. These are informed by the children's cultural backgrounds, family input, and the learning outcomes of EYFL. Implement. Here we deliver the experience. This might involve modeling, asking open-minded questions, storytelling, or providing sources that support exploration. Finally, we reflect on the effectiveness of the teaching. We consider feedback, documentation, and how well the experience supported the children learning. This reflects helps us improve our further decision. So moving to the next slide, linking to EYFL version 2.0. The slides focus on how effective curriculum decision making is linked to the early year learning framework version 2.0 or EYFL 2.0. The UIFL is a national framework that guides early childhood educators in planning and delivering the learning experience. It outlines five key learning outcomes: identify community well-being, learning, and communication. So community, which also children learns to connect with and contribute to their goal. They build relationships and being to understand their roles in the group and the society. So, well-being. This includes both physical health and emotional development. Children learn how to manage emotion, task risk, and the develop resilience. Learning. Children become confident and improved learners. Confident and involved learners. They explore, experiment, solve problems through play and inquiry. Communication. Children use different languages and symbols to express ideas. They listen, respond, and begin to understand different ways of communicating. In addition to outcome, EYFL also provide principle and practices to support learning decision. The principle includes building respectful relationships, holding high expectation for every child, valuing diversity, and working in the partnership with families. The practice includes using holistic approaches, being responsive for children, interests, and needs, encouraging learning to play, creating inclusive environment, and using ongoing assessment. By aligning curriculum decision with these outcomes, principles and the practices, educators ensure that every children experience learning that is meaningful, culturally respectful, and developmentally appropriate. So, informing practices with the graduate standard. Graduate standards support educators to deliver high quality learning experience by outlining the knowledge and the practice we need. This includes understanding children development and how the children learn, building a strong relationship with families, and using assessment strategy intentionally. Reflective practices is also essential. It helps educators think deeply and the actions improves over time. The standards help bring theory and the practices, allowing educators to make curriculum decisions that are meaningful and developmentally appropriate. So using assessment and the feedback to adapt. Assessment isn't static. It must lead into the action. First, we gather assessment data through the observation, work sample, and decision with the families. Then we reflect on the data to uncover children's strengths, needs, and areas for improvement. Finally, we adjust the program that might involve changing activities, modifying the learning environment, or adapting our teaching strategy to better meet the need of the children. This process of adapting based on the feedback is what curriculum decision effective and responsive. On our next slide's conclusion. To conclude, effective curriculum decision making is the continuous cycles of observation, assessment, reflection, and the responsiveness. We educators embed the EYFL outcome and the teaching standard into daily practices. Children are more likely to develop a strong sense of identity, well-being, and the confidence. They become active participants in their own learning, setting up not only for the academic success but for the lifelong growth and belongings. So here is my references that I use in my um, presentation on my slides. So thank you for listening me, and hopefully I'll get some feedback for my further assessment. Thank you.